We are back from Dallas QAD Redzone Champions of Manufacturing Conference. Paul Gillin here with Scott Hebner, my partner in crime, as we're wrapping up a day of interviews. Fire hose of information about manufacturing, more than I knew about manufacturing I've learned today, and delighted to wrap up today with a session with a customer. So we have from QAD, Tom Roberts, who's Vice President of Strategic Industry Development, and Dave Miller, Director of Enterprise Applications at Hendrickson, which is a QAD customer. Right. We're going to talk about the process that you've gone through to benchmark where you are, where you're going, how QAD is getting you there. Thank you both for joining us today.
Sure, my pleasure.
Dave, tell me about what Hendrickson does first.
Sure, Hendrickson is a global manufacturer of heavy-duty suspension and axle systems for the commercial transportation industry. At Hendrickson, I'm the Director of Enterprise Applications. My main focus is defining the strategy and leading the teams to do our ERP implementations and optimize our business solutions. A big part of what we do is try to find ways to streamline and automate processes. And we see these AI tools as being another tool in our toolbox to accomplish that. Case in point, some years back, we had the idea that there must be some better way that we can help our planners manage their MRP parameters. It's a complex thing, they need to change a lot. The environments in which they work in change a lot, and we recognize that this wasn't being done in a timely fashion. So we dreamt up a framework for how we could approach that problem. We had an opportunity to share that with the QAD data science team, and that parts of that idea have evolved and become into the Champion AI inventory optimization agent.
Tom, how did Hendrickson become sort of a test bed for your agentic AI efforts?
So I think Hendrickson has always been a good partner to QAD over the years, talking to us about different problems that they've had and working with us on solutions. So, it's kind of a natural fit to have our team reach out to them and work on this inventory optimization issue.
We were talking earlier, it's almost like a co-development effort, right?
Yeah, it really is. If we aren't developing something that's appropriate for customers or needed or necessary for our customers, then we probably shouldn't be doing it. So it was great to have that insight and capability from the Hendrickson team.
It's the ultimate level of client centricity, right?
Absolutely.
Customer centricity.
Absolutely.
So
how does that process work? You're working on new agentic capabilities. You know what you need, what you don't need.
Right.
How does that process work of deciding what you're going to bring into production?
Right. Well, so we outlined a framework of how we would approach the solution, and we defined 3 different phases to it. And the first part of it was, what are the KPIs by which we're going to measure this solution? So we started with that. Then we had the idea that, we should come up with some templates of how MRP parameters are assigned based on certain part characteristics and that sort of thing. And then the third phase was really to use analytics to automate the whole thing. So we shared that. It was really one page, and it would fit on a one PDF document. And we shared that with the data science team, along with some articles from academia of how researchers were approaching this problem. And they took it back to their labs, and then they started figuring out, okay, what should we do with this? And ultimately, they decided this is an inventory optimization problem. There's bits and pieces of what they've framed here that we can fit into that. This is something that many customers will have, the same problem, and will be looking for a solution for. So they did that. So they've worked on it. They've worked on the analytics. In the meantime, they've also built the architecture for Champion AI. So they put, the whole componentization of what goes into that with the chatbot, the large language models, the memory, the tools. They architected all of that. In the meantime, their data science team was working on the analytics for how to solve this optimization problem. So then they have the chatbot, which is talking with the large language model to help communicate with the operator or the user, and then through the integration with the APIs, they can get the work done in QAD. Once they had a working solution, then they came back to us and we did a workshop, and now we're going to really engage going forward and get onto a cadence where we're providing feedback to help train this to be more advanced.
Yep.
So when I leave later today, the messages that I'm going to walk away with, I think, is the evolution from a system of record to a system of action.
Yes.
Right, I think is one key message that came across to me. It's more than just automation, but it's empowering better decisions, timely decisions, right? And then finally, it's about empowering people, not replacing them. Does that resonate with your strategy?
100%. It
Yeah.
absolutely is a co-pilot for the planners. It is not to replace them.
Yeah.
Just like MRP action messages today make suggestions on you should release this work order or you should expedite this order. Same thing with Champion AI. It's going to make recommendations. But also in empowering, there's really 3 levels to it that I see. There's the helping people with the redundant work, get rid of the repetitive work. So the automation of tasks that are not value added, right? The second part is bringing new solution frameworks that, because they're doing this repetitive work, we're not having time to explore. So the agents can, with QAD's help, can be trained and taught to solve complex problems in more intelligent ways. And then they can bring that to our people, and that brings them up another level. But then they get even more engaged, and now they want to learn more about it themselves. And that's where the real value is. Then we have a culture change where we're all trying to operate more intelligently.
It goes from an assistant to actually being a partner, right?
Champion.
Absolutely.
Yeah, a champion.
Absolutely.
Which is brilliant branding, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's, you can see why Dave and his team are the right choice for us to engage, because I mean there's an appetite there, and you have to be it just has to be part of your interest level too, if you're willing to spend that time along with doing your daily job to be involved with something like this. So we're thrilled for the partnership. Thrilled.
Tom, go into some of the nuts and bolts of how this feedback mechanism works. Do you have people on site at Hendrickson? Do you have weekly briefings? How do you?
Yeah, so I think there have been a number of meetings. There were some on-site workshops in the UK at one of the facilities in the UK. So our data science team out of Paris, they located themselves up to the plant in the UK, worked with that group, worked with their manager, their plant manager as well. A number of interactions with Dave virtually and his team. So I think you put all those things together over time. I think it was probably 18 months or so.
Yeah.
All those meetings, all those workshops, those led to build activities with engineering. They would go back, they would kind of do some more work with Dave's team, and then they would come back, work on formulas, work on different things out of our data science area. So it became this cumulative effort over time to get it where it needs to be.
Kind of a formal spec process?
What's that?
Is it kind of a formal spec process, the way you would do with a user and a developer
I'd like
team?
to tell you that it was. I think with this case, because it was data science led, that's usually a different activity.
Yeah.
Like sometimes when you're designing for an outcome, that's a very specific, here's your design, you have waterfall, that kind of. This is more of a, let's figure out how this works, how we can implement the formulas, what the formulas mean to the business and to the process, and then just keep iterating on it. It's a little, after a career in IT, I think it's just something that's a little unique in how it's delivered.
And Dave, where do you stand? Where does Hendrickson stand with AI that have you implemented any of these agents at this point?
No, we have not. From Hendrickson in general, we have a team that has historically done business intelligence and web apps and that sort of thing, and they're gaining expertise in writing AI chatbots and so forth. We have, and for sure they've implemented that within the company, and our goal ultimately is, once they get really good at that, to take that into our customer portals, supplier portals, and that type of thing. But other than that, when we say AI, and whenever I say that term, I want to say quote unquote AI, because to us it's algorithms, right? It's just different techniques and different ways of doing things. And for sure, we are using those same techniques and ways of doing things for things like forecasting, for example. So we're using machine learning algorithms and so forth to do forecasting and exploring other opportunities for that. But we have not built any agents that are actually doing AI work for us.
Except you're working with them.
Except working with them. And that's a good point. That's a good point, because really to us, that's where those solutions belong, is in whatever the source system is that's managing those activities today. And for sure it behooves them, right? Because other customers are going to be wanting that.
Right.
And if we can work with them to advise them on, here's what we think the best approach for that stuff is, then we both win.
And Tom, you were a CIO, right? So you're a customer. Your background's as a customer.
Yep.
And so working with customers is a great approach versus, voila, here's what we built for you, right?
Well, we can go in the garage and try and build something and hope it does, but you know, you just don't know. I'd rather talk to them about problems that can be, hopefully have a solution. You know, and then the great thing I think about QAD is bringing our manufacturing expertise, our technology expertise, building on a foundation like AWS Bedrock and SageMaker, as far as our artificial intelligence platform using Snowflake, taking that approach in our background and then working with a customer who also has that deep manufacturing experience, and then putting the two together to deliver something like the inventory optimization.
It's a great model. Are you looking to scale it?
Absolutely.
More customers?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. As we move into, you know, other optimization areas, costing optimization, sourcing optimization, you know, we're working with different customers that have that similar appetite, and they're willing to spend some time. You know, this is a very time-intensive activity. Dave is running a massive organization on his own. He's got a day job. And so he has to be willing to spend time, customers have to be willing to spend time to do that, and you know, not all of them are. So we're really thrilled when we have the ones that are willing to work with us iteratively like that and spend the time.
Dave, we know that not everyone welcomes the arrival of AI with open arms, particularly in a heavy manufacturing field where you probably have a lot of seasoned employees. What are you doing to prepare the groundwork?
Well, most of my preparation right now is within my IT organization. So starting a few years ago, we started putting people through formal programs in data and analytics. 5 people, or 6 people, including myself, are doing master's level training, have done master's degrees or master's level certificates in data and analytics. So we really view these people as the, I guess, the champions, or the people to bring these techniques into the culture. But to be sure, all our business customers, the people that we serve, they're looking for any angle that they can get to save time. They want to get out of repetitive tasks. Mm-hmm. And we spend a lot of time doing that today, writing custom programs and what have you to help them out with things. Anything that we can bring to them that makes this job easier is going to go fantastic. And just last week when we had the workshop, we had a couple of people from one of our divisions in. We had a materials manager and a forecasting manager, and they loved it. And one of them, I met up with him afterward, and he said, you know, it's just so fantastic that you guys are looking into this stuff and trying to bring these solutions to us. They're very eager for it.
Sometimes when you have a product launch or program launch, you might set these parameters and not revisit them for quite a long time. So you might have stock out issues, or you might have continuous inventory buildup that you don't need to have. So it's good to have that continuous look on there.
So Dave, if we're sitting here next year, or even the year after, what do you hope to be able to talk about?
Well, I hope to be able to say that we're using the inventory optimization agent in certain business units. We're also looking at another one that I think Tom called it cost analysis, but something to help people analyze method variances, purchase part variances, and again, though, around specific problems is how we want to tackle this. So when people have those problems today and they have to go through a lot of data and do a lot of backtracking, if we can get the system to do that for them and give some recommendations on how to solve it, I hope we can talk about that.
Yeah. You got to balance not only getting it implemented, but people adopting it and loving it and seeing it as a great thing that's giving them superpowers.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Where are you expecting to see the biggest payoff?
Really in relieving pain points in our plants. In our plants, I'm sure it's this way everywhere, but they have very hard jobs, right? They're balancing a lot. They're putting out fires, and I want to get them out of the fire putting out mode. I want them to be able to know they're going to have the materials that they need when they need them, and let them spend more time on figuring out how they can continually improve their own processes versus just dousing out whatever the latest fire is.
You've heard this morning from new CEO, new management team, new direction, new vision to QAD, been a customer for a long time. What's your reaction to what you heard today?
Well, they're very energized, aren't they? And I think that's great. And I think from a customer side, it is great to see. I like the message that they first were focusing on quality. That was important. Second, finish what they had committed to do, build out the product and finish what they want to do. And then third, take it to another level. So I think that's absolutely the right focus. it's going to be a lot of work. It's going to take some time. I imagine it will take longer than they hope it will take, but it's on the right track.
Yeah, I love their balance in the messaging about, it's not just about the technology, it's about the people.
It absolutely
And
is.
you guys as a company and as a conference have done a really great job in emphasizing the people part, right? Because organizations, I would imagine factory plants and manufacturing lines, and they don't do things, it's the people, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Tom, what have you learned from this process with Hendrickson so far?
One of the things I talk about now is not only with Hendrickson, but with working with artificial intelligence in general. People ask the question, are jobs going to be removed? What's going to happen with this kind of thing? I offer a warning when I go through my industry presentations and so forth, and the warning is prepare now for the efficiencies you're going to gain. Because I believe it's Parkinson's law that says work expands to fill the time allotted. Mm-hmm. And you're not necessarily going to have people raising their hand to say, hey, since you guys have implemented this, I spend half my time doing what I used to do. So you've got to prepare before that. And again, it's not my job to decide what that customer does with that efficiency gain. Do they have that person take on more work? Do they, make some kind of headcount optimization? Do they do something? That's, not my concern. I'd love to have people have jobs and spend more time, putting thought into making things better, but it's up for them to decide, but it's a warning, right? Whenever you're doing something like this, the efficiency gains can be massive, and you need to be prepared for that.
Our research at theCUBE research, including surveys, is that the vast majority are going to reinvest the efficiency back into being able to do more and not cut jobs or costs.
And see that the great translation of that is if you have a buyer and all of a sudden I know that I take out 40% of their work, can they take on that much more potential suitors that they're going at, right? Potential supplier options. Then you have more suppliers in the mix for your bid, and then you might have lower prices, lower pricing that you're getting, and you lower the cost of goods sold. So that's a great outcome of that, to say, I had some efficiencies, I gave my buyers a little more work, but they were able to do it with AI, and I was able to drive costs down because of the AI, drive down my purchasing costs, drive additional purchasing savings, or have them, maybe they're working on an automotive, for example. A lot of the things that they're doing is spending time with the supplier to maybe share technology or process improvements that they know in their company that they can share with a potential supplier to drive more efficiency in them and maybe get some cost optimization.
Yeah, it's not only you're going to be able to do more with your free time, quote unquote free time, but you're going to
right, quote unquote.
You're going to have better skills. You're going to be able to elevate what you're capable of doing and the value you can actually deliver. So. It's giving people superpowers, and that's the message I always, because I get into this conversation all the time about, it's you see these things, it's going to wipe out everyone's jobs, and so, my prediction is in 5 years it's going to be net growth.
Yeah.
Because I think people are just going to have superpowers. They're going to be able to do more, and they're going to become more valuable.
Right.
And that's especially true in the knowledge worker space, which everyone out there is doing knowledge. If you're making a judgment, you're doing knowledge work.
That part of it is true. For sure, it's going to make everyone smarter and more powerful. But at the same time, we're going to be able to tap more of that subject matter expertise that they already have. A lot of these people that they have a lot of intrinsic knowledge of how things work in the company, and we're not maybe even tapping that to its full potential already because they're doing the busy work. Now if we save them time in some of the busy work and even in some of the problem solving stuff.
They can use gray matter.
Now they can start pulling from what they really know to improve.
We talked about that earlier, right? If someone was to retire, today or in the old days, you're not sure everything the guy has learned or gal has learned over the decades doesn't move on, but with AI, it's going to start capturing all that
stuff. Start capturing some.
Yeah, there's a lot of downstream benefits to this too.
And the statistics suggest that I think 40% of manufacturing employees in the United States are 55 or older. Right. So they're probably not going to be in industry that much longer. I think about my kids who are college age and I have one in high school. They're going to get to a place where they're going to be prompting the system. If they're forced to go to a regular ERP transaction, they're going to go, they're going to want to prompt and get the briefings that way and then interact with the system that way. They're not going to want to navigate through a bunch of screens. I don't think.
Fascinating point that Tom made, Dave, about preparing people for massive efficiency gains.
Yes.
What are you doing at this point to prepare some of those people whose jobs will be transformed?
Honestly, we haven't thought about that yet.
Yeah. You'll get to it.
We'll get to it, yeah. I do think, though, that one thing that these tools bring is, in themselves, a new level of excitement. Not just for the people who are going to be using them, but for the people who are going to be delivering them. So from IT, they get excited. It's just something new, right? You're not solving problems the old way. You're approaching them in a different way, and same thing for the people on the business side. And I think ultimately it's going to play in our favor when we do want to recruit younger people and bring them into this space. It's going to look more interesting. Maybe they study computer science or data science or something, but now we're giving them a whole world of problems to apply that stuff to that are incredibly interesting and challenging. And I think in that way, if they see and learn some of this stuff early on, they may be drawn into this, and then who knows where it goes.
Dave Miller from Hendrickson, Tom Roberts from QAD. What a great way to wrap up today's interviews, really bringing it all together, coming home to what the customer is experiencing, how that's feeding back into what QAD is doing. Really, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for the opportunity, I appreciate it.
Paul Gillin with Scott Hebner. We will be back in a minute to wrap up today's activities from the QAD Redzone Champions of Manufacturing Conference in Dallas. This is theCUBE.